Kylian Mbappé wasn't just a footballer to little Amir, he was a reason to smile, a beam of light in the darkest hospital nights. But then, a simple envelope arrived that would change everything. It wasn't a fan letter, it was a farewell. It was a grey Thursday afternoon in Paris. Rain rolled down the training centre windows at PSG. Practice had just ended. The locker room was buzzing, teammates laughing, tossing towels and making plans for dinner. Mbappé stayed behind on the pitch, still stretching, running short sprints, his usual end-of-day rhythm. As he tied the laces of his boots slowly, a club staff member jogged over, envelope in hand. "Someone dropped this off from Necker Hospital," the man said it was important. Mbappé gave a small nod and tucked it into the pocket of his jacket without saying much. Letters came every day, most he read at home. After training, after prayer, maybe with some tea. But this one, something felt different. No logo, no return address. Just Kylian, written in a child's shaky handwriting. That night, after dinner in the quiet of his apartment, Mbappé finally opened it. "Dear Kylian, my name is Amir. I'm 9. I watch every match from my hospital bed. Mum says I might not be here for the next one, but I'll still be cheering for you. Thank you for making me happy. Your biggest fan, Amir Mbappé," went still. The sounds from the TV faded into nothing. He read the words again and again. "Might not be here." He stood and walked to the window. The city lights blurred behind rain-specked glass. His heart felt heavier with every passing second. He called his assistant. "Can you find out what room Amir is in?" "You want to send him something, Kylian?" "No," Mbappé replied, voice low. "I want to see him." The following morning, Mbappé quietly cleared his schedule. A media interview was postponed, a sponsorship shoot rescheduled. He gave strict instructions: no photographers, no social posts. "This isn't for the headlines," he told his manager. "This is just me." At Necker Hospital, a nurse greeted him at the side entrance. Mbappé wore a simple hoodie, pulled low, a cap shading his face. Few recognized him as he moved through the hallways of the pediatric oncology wing. The air smelled faintly of disinfectant and crayon. Soft music played from a speaker nearby, but every sound felt muffled, distant. "He's awake," the nurse whispered, "but he gets tired quickly." "Just a minute or two," Mbappé replied. As they neared the room, he paused. He could hear a faint humming, like a child singing a song under his breath. A football chant, maybe. Mbappé couldn't help but smile. Then he stepped in. Amir was lying in bed, pale and small, his face framed by a tangle of IV lines and the faint beep of a heart monitor. But the second his eyes met Mbappé's, everything lit up. "I knew you'd come," Amir said softly, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Mbappé let out a breath, almost a laugh. "You did?" "Yeah," Amir said with a sleepy smile. "Mom says I'm good at guessing." Mbappé sat at his bedside and offered his hand. Amir's grip was weak but determined. "I got your letter," he said. "You write better than I did at 9. Amir chuckled. "My hand shakes sometimes." Mbappé reached into his bag and pulled out a PSG jersey, Amir's name printed on the back. "For you." The boy clutched it like it was treasure. They talked about football, about Mbappé's goals, about Amir's favorite game, the one where Kylian scored twice in the last 5 minutes. Amir nearly fell out of bed cheering. Mbappé winced. "You've got to be careful, bro." "I'd do it again," Amir whispered. There was a pause. "Your mum, she's okay?" Mbappé asked. Amir nodded. "She cries when she thinks I'm asleep. But I know, I'm not scared. I just don't want her to be sad." Mbappé looked over. Amir's mother sat in the corner, wiping her eyes silently. Then he turned back to the boy. "Promise me something." "What?" "Be here for the next match. I'll score for you, and when I do, it's yours." Amir smiled, eyelids fluttering shut. Deal. Deal. As Mbappé stood to leave, he looked back. Amir's mother mouthed, "Thank you." He nodded. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the weight in his chest hadn't lifted. He got into the car, stared ahead and whispered, "You have no idea what you've just given me, Amir." The next evening, without telling anyone, Mbappé returned to the hospital. No cameras, no bodyguards. Just him, in that same grey hoodie, walking. Through the now familiar corridor, the nurse met him again. Her smile was softer this time, almost sad. "He's weaker today," she said. "But he keeps asking if you're coming back." As they passed by a mural on the wall, drawings from the kids, Mbappé stopped. A crayon sketch caught his eye. A boy holding hands with a footballer under a sun with a wide smile. "That's Amir's," the nurse said quietly. "He drew it months ago." At the room, Amir's mother opened the door this time. Her eyes widened with surprise, then softened into something close to relief. "He said you'd come again." Inside, Amir was dozing. His chest moved up and down slowly. Mbappé sat down beside him without a word. After a few moments, Amir stirred. He blinked, smiled faintly. "You're real," Mbappé chuckled. "Always have been, just not always this close. This time, the talk wasn't about football." "Do you get scared?" Amir asked. "Before matches?" Mbappé nodded. "Sometimes, but not of losing. More like not living up to what people expect." Amir nodded. "I get scared too, but not of, you know. I just don't like seeing Mom sad. I wish she didn't have to cry." Mbappé looked over. Amir's mother turned her head quickly, pretending to be focused on her phone. Her fingers trembled. Amir spoke again. "Do you ever feel like, maybe it's not dying that's scary, but knowing others will be sad when you do?" Mbappé's throat tightened. "That's very wise, Amir." "I've had time to think," he said with a tired smile. He coughed, and Mbappé instinctively reached out, steadying him with a hand on his shoulder. When the moment passed, Amir's eyes lit up again. "I tried learning Arabic, you know," he said proudly, "so I could yell at the screen when you miss a goal." Mbappé laughed. "Did it help?" "Nope. I still yelled in French." There was a pause. Then Amir looked serious again. "Kylian, will you remember me?" Mbappé's voice was low. "I think I'll remember you when I'm 80, when I've stopped playing and my hair's all white. I'll remember the kid who reminded me why I started." Amir nodded, satisfied. "I don't want to be remembered for being sick. I want to be remembered for smiling." Mbappé didn't say a word. He pulled out a small notebook from his bag. "I write after every match," he explained. "Thoughts, stuff I felt, what I could have done better." He opened to a blank page. Carefully he wrote, "Amir, the boy who smiled through storms." He handed it to Amir. "It's yours for now. Write, draw, or just hold it." Amir clutched the notebook like it was gold. As the nurse came in to check Amir's monitors, Mbappé stood, giving them space. But before he left, he leaned down. "I'll come back tomorrow," he said softly. "Promise?" Amir asked, his voice barely a whisper. Mbappé gently squeezed his hand. "Promise." In the hallway, Amir's mother followed him out. Her voice was low, tired. "He wasn't eating, barely talked. But since you came, he's been different. He says he's waiting for something now, something important." Mbappé nodded, eyes down. "He's stronger than most grown men I know." She touched his arm gently. "You didn't just visit him, you saw him." That night, Mbappé lay awake in bed. The weight of Amir's words pressed down on him. "I want to be remembered for..." Smiling, Saturday's match loomed. A big fixture, media frenzy, interviews, pressure. But Mbappé's thoughts weren't on the game. They were on a little boy with shaking hands and bright eyes. He looked at the match day agenda, public appearances, post-game interviews, press room obligations. He messaged his assistant, "No interviews Saturday, I'll play. Then I leave right after. I'm going back to the hospital." The next day, rain painted streaks across the windows of his apartment. Paris looked like a faded photo. Mbappé stood at his kitchen counter, tea cooling in his hands. He hadn't told anyone where he was going that day. Not the coach, not the team. Some things didn't need explaining. At the hospital, the mood had changed. Nurses still smiled, but it was softer now, like everyone was walking gently through. A room of glass. Laughter still echoed in the halls, but it didn't rise quite as high. When Mbappé entered Amir's room, he found the boy asleep. His skin was paler, his breaths were shallow and slow. The notebook sat on the table beside him. His mother was there, same chair, same book in her lap. She hadn't turned a page. "He's been waiting for you," she said, voice barely above. A breath. As if hearing her, Amir stirred. His eyelids fluttered. When he saw Mbappé, he gave the smallest smile. "You came again." Mbappé smiled back. "I told you I would." Amir pointed weakly toward the notebook. "I wrote something." Mbappé picked it up. The writing was shaky now, but still full of heart. "Dear Kylian, if I don't wake up again, don't be sad. I wasn't scared. I had you as a friend. Tell the other kids they're not alone." Mbappé closed the notebook slowly. "I read every word," he whispered, "and I'll carry them with me." Amir gave a faint nod. After a pause, he said, "About the goal." "The one I promised you?" "Yeah," Amir murmured, "but I don't want it just for me anymore." Mbappé leaned closer. "I want it for the kids who don't get visitors. The ones nobody remembers. If you score, can you—" He lifted a frail hand, pointed upward. Mbappé understood instantly. "Point to the sky." Amir nodded. "But don't make it loud. Just a little sign. Quiet. Our secret." Mbappé's smile trembled. "You want me to do it without the world noticing?" "Yeah," Amir whispered. "Just for us." They sat there quietly, just the two of them. No football, no hospital noises. Just a boy and his hero, side by side, while the world outside kept spinning too fast. Later, as the evening sun started to fade behind the Paris skyline, Mbappé stood. "I'll come again." But as he turned to go, Amir reached out and grabbed his wrist, surprisingly firm for someone so weak. "One more thing," Amir whispered. Mbappé paused. "Anything. Don't stop smiling, even when it hurts." Mbappé didn't speak. He just nodded, heart full, eyes fixed on the small hand wrapped around his. That night, Mbappé couldn't bring himself to eat, couldn't sleep. He walked around his apartment in slow, restless circles, then found himself in his prayer room. He prayed not just for Amir's peace, but for the strength to honor the promise. To do something right in a world that didn't always make sense. Saturday came. The Parc des Princes pulsed with life. Fans filled the seats, red and blue flags waved, and chants echoed through the sky. It was a perfect day for football, but Mbappé's heart wasn't here. In the locker room, his teammates joked and prepared, but Mbappé stayed quiet. Coach gave his usual pep talk. Players nodded. Mbappé barely heard a word. He changed, laced his boots, went through the motions like clockwork. But his mind was somewhere else. "Everything okay?" his teammate asked. Mbappé nodded. "Big match." On the pitch, the game was intense. Defense tight, every move contested. Mbappé made runs, but he wasn't himself, not slower, just distant. At halftime, the coach pulled him aside. "You look distracted." Mbappé shook his head. "I'm clear." "You playing for us today?" Mbappé looked him in the eyes. "I'm playing for someone who needs this win more than I do." Second half. The energy shifted. Mbappé drove harder, sharper, faster. The crowd roared with every move. Then, in the 78th minute, it happened. Hakimi slid a perfect pass down the wing. Mbappé dashed in, cut across the box. One touch, one low strike. Goal. The stadium exploded. But Mbappé didn't. He didn't run, didn't yell, didn't lift his arms. He knelt slowly. He looked to the sky and he pointed. No words, no smile, just a quiet, sacred moment. The cameras caught it, of course. Commentators guessed. Was it a prayer? Was he hurt? Was it personal? Mbappé said nothing. After the match, as his teammates celebrated and media waited in the tunnels, Mbappé changed quickly and slipped out. Straight to Necker Hospital. The rain had returned, light but steady, brushing the streets like soft fingertips. A nurse met him at the door. Her eyes said it all before her words did. He passed about an hour ago, she said gently. Peacefully. Mbappé nodded, his eyes closed. She added, "We played the match on the TV. He saw your goal." He smiled. Inside Amir's room, the bed was already made. Clean sheets, quiet monitors. The emptiness hit Mbappé harder than anything else. But on the small table beside the bed, the notebook remained. Amir's notebook. Next to it, a new drawing. A boy. A footballer. A hand pointing to the sky. Mbappé stood there, silent, hands buried in his coat pockets. He didn't move for a long time. Just breathing, letting the moment settle in his bones. As he turned to go, he whispered, "Thank you, Amir, for reminding me who I am." That weekend, the world outside had no idea what had just happened, but the image of Mbappé's celebration spread like wildfire. He knelt, eyes closed, one finger to the sky. 1,000 headlines followed. Mbappé's silent celebration sparks questions, tribute or protest. Fans speculate. Personal moment. Mbappé refuses to comment. Everyone wanted an answer, but Mbappé didn't offer one. He didn't need to. That night he sat alone in his living room, the match replaying softly in the background. But he wasn't watching. His gaze drifted to the notebook, now resting beside his prayer mat. He flipped to the last page. Amir wrote, "I saw it. Thank you for keeping the promise. I was never alone." Mbappé closed the notebook carefully, like it was something holy. And in many ways, it was. The next morning, he met his assistant and agent at a quiet cafe. "I want to set something up," he said. "A new foundation." His agent asked, "You already support a few?" "This one's different," Mbappé replied. "It's not about gear or training camps." He paused, watching a little girl laugh as her mother adjusted her raincoat on the sidewalk. "This one's about presence, for kids who feel invisible, like Amir." They nodded. "What will it be called?" the assistant asked, pulling out his tablet. Mbappé smiled softly. The smile. Nobody forgot. Word about the foundation didn't spread through press releases or headline events. It moved quietly in the way real things often do. There were no red carpets, no flashy launches. But people noticed. At Necker Hospital, a new mural appeared a few weeks later. A boy and a footballer beneath a bright golden sky, a small finger pointing upward. No plaque, no explanation, just a whisper left in paint. Elsewhere, anonymous donations began reaching families in need. Hospital wings got new beds. Pediatric patients received packages, books, small toys, signed notes. Sometimes a PSG jersey with their name on it. Mbappé never signed his name on any of it. He just showed up, sometimes without warning, quietly sitting at the bedside of another child. Different illness, different room, but the same look in their eyes. "Don't tell anyone I came," he would say. "This is just for us." And always he brought the notebook, Amir's notebook. The cover was worn now, pages filled with scribbles. Drawings, short messages. Mbappé would open to a fresh page and say, "There's a space next to Amir's, if you want to write something too." A boy once blinked up at him and whispered, "You're not what I expected." Mbappé smiled. Neither was Amir. Back on the pitch, his form never faltered. He played with the same speed, the same intensity, but something inside him had changed. His presence, calmer, grounded. Fans noticed it, commentators called it maturity. But it was something deeper, and in quiet moments between plays, after goals, when he'd glance up, not with grandeur, just a small gesture, a lift of the eyes, a breath, it was for Amir. Always for Amir. Months passed. The season carried on. Mbappé continued to perform, but the legacy he was building no longer lived only in trophies or scorelines. It lived in whispers, in hospital corridors, in the quiet hearts of families who had once felt alone. One day, a nurse from Necker sent a message to Mbappé's assistant. "We've received 6 new letters, all from children asking if Kylian could visit, not for photos, just to talk." He didn't reply. He just went. Each time, he brought the notebook, Amir's notebook. And each time, he added a new page filled with a child's bravery. One entry read, "I'm scared, but I'm strong like Amir was." Another, "If Kylian reads this, tell him I didn't give up either." Mbappé had never intended to start something, but he did. Not in stadiums, but in small rooms with soft lighting and hard truths. One child at a time. At a charity match. That spring, a journalist tried again. "That celebration," he asked gently, "the one where you pointed to the sky. What did it mean?" Mbappé paused. "I didn't know him long," he said quietly, "but I remember everything he said." "What stays with you most?" the journalist asked. Mbappé didn't blink. "He told me not to stop smiling, even when it hurts. No follow-up, no need." The silence after was heavier than words. When the season ended, Mbappé returned to Bondy, his hometown. Nobody there asked about transfers or contracts. They asked about the boy. Someone at the local center had heard about Amir's story. Soon everyone knew. But no one tried to glorify Mbappé. That's not how they did things. They just said, "He was lucky to have you." And Mbappé would always reply, "No, I was lucky to have him." The smile nobody forgot foundation kept growing, slowly, quietly. Every match day, a child somewhere received a message, sometimes signed, sometimes not. Every goal carried the weight of a promise once made in a quiet hospital room. And at Necker, nurses began giving children a small postcard. It showed a boy, a footballer, and a hand pointing to the sky. No message, no branding, just proof. Proof that someone saw them. One evening, Mbappé sat alone in his home as the sunset painted the room in gold. He opened the notebook, read Amir's first words, then his last, and then he added a final line. "You didn't just smile through storms, Amir. You taught us how to dance in the rain." He closed the notebook and smiled, as promised. If this story touched you, don't let it end here. Remember, Amir's wish, to be seen, to be remembered with a smile. Subscribe for more stories that matter. And if someone you know needs a little sign today, maybe this is it. God bless.